Hey everyone, and welcome to another Pathfinder adventure card game scenario. We are with the character Drelm. This is scenario 1.4, and Drelm is at the crypt. We're at this location. The difficulty of checks against Banes that have the cold or undead trait is increased by 3, plus the scenario's adventure deck number. Okay, so that'll be an additional plus 2, since this is scenario 1. Okay, advancing the blessings deck, we have the armored coat. Okay, so let's see. So Drelm will have to do a Constitution 5 check in order to get that card. So rolling a d6, we rolled a 2, so we do not acquire that card, unfortunately. So that card gets banished. So let's see what Drelm wants to do. He has a Blessing of Wadjet, so he can do an exploration. We're going to go ahead and use the Blessing of Wadjet. Discard this card to examine the top card of your location. Okay, we examined it, but the Blessing of Wadjet says during this exploration, so after we examine, we can explore. And during this exploration, add 1 die on your checks to acquire boons. Sweet. So the Blessing of Wadjet is discarded, but this has a cold trait. So unfortunately, in this scenario, this is actually a +3 modifier to acquire this boon, but Drelm can intelligence or craft. He doesn't have craft. His intelligence is a d6. So, thanks to Blessing of Wadjet, he does roll 2d6, but he has to roll an 8. Okay, he rolled a 6, 7, so that means he does not acquire that card. Okay, so the Flash Freeze gets banished. Looking at Drelm's hand, he does have the Sands of Time spell, so we're going to go ahead and cast that right now. So that means that we're going to be able to add 1 die to checks that have the Construct or Undead trait. So wow, that is really a great spell to be having at the crypt. Okay, so Drelm, we are going to reset his hand. We are now going to advance the Blessings deck. It's a Blessing of Wadjet, and we get the Ubashti Swarm. So it's undead, so that means that wow, so it's going to be a +5 on all these checks. Whew. Well, fortunately, Drelm has that Sands of Time spell. That's going to be a real lifesaver. So, we did not examine this card. So it's immune to mental and poison traits. So what we're going to do, is we have the Copish in our hand. So it's strength and melee plus 1d8. Plus we can add a die thanks to the Sands of Time. So assembling our dice, we're going to have 2d10 and a d8. We're going to be able to roll, or we're going to be add +3 to this check. So we rolled 14 and 3 is 17. And then for the next check, rolled 8 and 7 is 15, and another 8, 23 plus 3 is 26. Okay, so so we did exceed each check by 2. So, thanks to Sands of Time, we were able to defeat the Ubashti Swarm. Okay, really interesting. So, and we didn't even have to discard the Copish, we just revealed it. Alright, advancing the Blessings deck, it's a Blessing of Horus. We get a Toxic Geyser, so it's increased by +2. So let's see what we're going to do here. So Drelm has that ability. So he can add his Divine skill to this check, since it is a trap. So Dexterity, Acrobatics, Wisdom, Survival. So we'll do Wisdom, and we're going to add the Divine. So it's going to be 2d8 plus 3, and we need a 7. Alright, so we are successful. Awesome. So that is banished. Drelm's hand is fine. Advancing the Blessings deck, it's a Blessing of the Elements. Ooh, nice. We get a Dijin Quarterstaff. This looks like a powerful weapon. And Drelm likes weapons. Strength melee 6 or Arcane Divine 8. Well, Drelm's strength is d10 plus 2, so we're going to go ahead, or melee is going to be a +5 or +4 modifier. So we'll do d10 plus 4. Alright, and we rolled a 7. So we acquire the Dijin Quarterstaff. So this is pretty cool. I like it. We'll keep the Dijin Quarterstaff, and we are going to discard the Shotel. So Drelm's hand is all set. Advancing the Blessings deck. It's a Blessing of the Ancients. We get Crocodile Skin Lamellar. So we'll go ahead and do the Constitution check. D6. And we roll the 6. So we acquire this card. We'll just put it in our discard pile. So Drelm's acquiring some cool boons this adventure. Advancing the Blessings deck, Blessing of the Ancients, we get a Blessing of Khepri. Cool. Well, this is a really unique blessing. I'm playing with these blessings for this campaign. They don't really start, or they don't come into the base set, or they're not in any of the expansions 1 through 6. So this is a promo card, but I think it's pretty cool. So Drelm has a Divine of D8 plus 3. Alright, so we do acquire the Blessing of Khepri. We'll go ahead and use it. Actually, you know what? We're going to keep it because yeah, we don't have any blessings in our hand. So we will keep it. Alright, the hand looks great. Advancing the Blessings deck, we get a Curse of Vulnerability. So that does go into Drelm's hand. We're playing with blessing or curses in the Blessings deck. So now exploring, okay, we get the Crawling Hands. So Combat 13, immune to mental and poison traits. So since it is at the crypt, it actually has a +5 modifier. Ouch. So we have to do an 18 to defeat the Crawling Hands. So, well, this is cool. So we have the Galvanic Chakram, which says, if proficient with weapons, and Drelm is proficient with weapons, on your combat check if you played another weapon. So we're going to go ahead and play the Copish here. So we can add 1d4 plus 1 and the electricity trait. So we're going to discard that to add the 1d4 and the electricity plus 1. We're going to use the Copish. We're going to discard this card to add 1 die to each roll and the bludgeoning trait. So that means we're going to roll a d8 and d10 rather, and a d8. So we get to add +1 to all of those rolls, or to all those dice rather. And in addition to that, we get to add, since this is a melee check, we get to add +4. So 4, 5, we're adding a +7 modifier to these dice, and we need an 18 or higher. And we have the Sands of Time. Don't want to forget that. We get to add another D10. Awesome. Thanks to the Sands of Time, because we are fighting an undead trait. Okay. 4 dice, and we get to add, since it's an additional D10, we get to add an additional 1. So we're adding 4, 5, 6, we're adding 8 to this roll. So we rolled 8, and 6 is 14, and 9 is 23, and 8, 23, 28, 29, 30, 32. Well, awesome. Crawling Hands have been defeated. And we did defeat it by 4. So that's awesome. So what's going to happen now is that it doesn't say here that if we defeat this character we can close the location. So unfortunately that means that we have to continue on and close the location the hard way. Okay, because that's how I play. Resetting Drelm's hand, advancing the Blessings deck. It's a Blessing of the Elements. Drelm has a Remove Curse spell in his hand. He's going to recharge that so that he can get rid of the Curse of Vulnerability. And now what he's going to do is going to explore. So we have a Fire Hydra here. So it's a before you act effect, unfortunately. So Dexterity or Acrobatics 8 check. So Drelm unfortunately only has a D6 Dexterity. So he fails to check. So he's dealt 1d4 minus 1 fire damage. So 2 minus 1, so 1 point of fire damage. He doesn't have anything that can reduce that. So, we do have this though. It says, if proficient with light armors, bury this card to reduce all damage dealt to you by 5. Okay. So we'll go ahead and we'll do that. We'll bury that card. So now, If the check to defeat does not have the acid, cold, electricity, fire, poison trait, the fire hydrant is undefeated. Wow, that's pretty intense. So Drelm doesn't have any weapons in his hand, so he's just going to straight up just do a D10 strength check, or melee check. So he rolled 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So he rolled enough to defeat the fire hydrant because he has the +4 melee modifier. But the fire hydrant is undefeated. It gets shuffled back into the deck. Okay, so rolling a D6. There's only 2 cards left in the location deck. This card is on the top. What we're going to do now is Drelm's going to cast a cure spell. He's going to see if he can get some cards back from his graveyard. He gets 2 cards back from his graveyard. So shuffling the cards. Which ones does he get back? Random determination. So he gets, he gets the chakram back in his hand. So shuffling his deck here. Okay, so now what we're going to do now is see if we recharge the cure spell. So it's going to be D8. We needed 2 and we had 3. We needed an 8. So the cure spell is discarded. We're also going to discard we're going to clear out Drelm's hand. And we are going to draw a new hand of 5 cards. So, and now what we're going to do is advance the Blessings deck. It's a Blessing of Horus. Okay, we get the Fire Hydra again. So, what really stinks here, so before you act, we have to do the dexterity check. So we're going to roll use a Blessing of the Elements. We're going to roll 2d6. So, okay, we succeeded. We don't have to take any fire damage. But our check, so it's a fire. So let's see. Shucks. So we don't have anything that has the electricity trait. So basically we're going to try to just, we'll do a Blessing of the Elements, Ancients. We're just going to roll 2d10 for our combat check. We're adding 4 to this roll. So once again we defeat the Fire Hydra, but since we didn't have any elemental trait, it gets shuffled back into the deck. Rolling a die here to see which card is on top. It's the first card. Okay, so we're in a bit of a pickle here. We're going to go ahead and reset Drelm's hand. So we are going to get some cards. We need to get that elemental trait, unfortunately. Advancing the Blessings deck, it's a Blessing of Thoth. Okay, we get an alchemical gas. So intelligence craft disable, it's a obstacle. So Drelm can add his divine skill to his checks. So he has intelligence disable craft. So what he's going to have here is intelligence disable craft. So he's going to do the disable, which is D8 plus 2, and he can add his divine skill. So he's adding +5 to this modifier. So that's pretty awesome. Drelm is really good with traps. Look at that, 7, 10, plus 5. So the alchemical gas is gone. But now what we need to do is we have the Blessing of the Elements. There's no more cards in the Blessings deck, so we have to explore. And we know that it's the Fire Hydra. And unfortunately, what's going on is that we don't have anything. Shucks. We don't have anything in our hand that's going to give us an elemental trait. So what's going to happen is that we'll just do, we'll use the Galvanic Chakram, Dexterity Range Skill plus 1d8 plus 1, and we'll discard it. So the Drelm's Dexterity is d6. See, if he had another weapon, he could gain the electricity trait, but he doesn't have another weapon. That's what's kind of frustrating. He discarded 2 of his weapons. So as it is, we are going to see, that's another good reason to keep this Galvanic Chakram. It's a really useful card. So we got Dexterity plus 1d8, and what we're doing is we're discarding it to add another d6. We get to add +1 to that roll. Okay, so here's what we're doing. We're using this. We're adding 1 to the roll. 3, 4, 5, 6. Ouch. So we failed. Fortunately, or 3, 4, 5, 6. Or we could add 1 to the roll. So we did defeat the Fire Hydra, but since we don't have the elemental trait, it gets shuffled back in the library. So what happens now is that Drelm did not win this scenario because the crawling hands don't allow him to close the location. So as it is, he had to run through the entire location deck before he could get to the when closing. So he failed. He's going to have to go back to the crypt. There'll be a brand new location deck. He did acquire some new boons, but as it is, he didn't gain the reward. He's not going to be able to go to a trader because he's still going through the crypt. It's kind of thematic how the Fire Hydra was still there, that he wasn't able to defeat the Fire Hydra because of the crypt. So it's kind of interesting. I mean, what do you think? I mean, usually during these moments, I just create a new location deck. But would it be cool to also just keep the Fire Hydra in for the next battle too? Because that's the only reason why he didn't complete the crypt. But as it is, I'll create a whole new location deck. Maybe in the future, any cards that didn't get through this deck, I'll keep, and then I'll just add new cards, because maybe that would make a little more sense from like a storyline perspective. Or maybe what I'll do is I will keep the Fire Hydra in. After he didn't complete the crypt, Drelm runs away. Maybe I'll leave the Fire Hydra in there, but I'll add all new cards. Or it'd be interesting to keep it more like of a storyline. Maybe I kept like the alchemical gas, and because maybe there is still a toxic geyser, and maybe there still is the Ubashti swarm, right? But we defeated all those cards. So it's interesting. I didn't really think about how to play that out. Of course, Sands of Time goes back into our hands. So I'm not sure. I mean, all I know is that Drelm has to repeat this scenario again. So that's for sure. So whether or not, we'll just see what happens next. Alright, well, I appreciate everyone watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. And there'll be some more. Drelm will be back at the crypt. Whether or not the Fire Hydra is going to be there, I'm not sure. Alright, well, thanks for watching. I'll have another scenario up shortly.